Hi, it's Maria from Still Dreaming Homestead. I'm glad you're back with me. So, we're still reading on the book, The Ghost of the Moaning Mansion. It's a D.J. Dillon's story by Lee Roddy. So, we are on book 8 of the series. And yesterday, when we were reading, DJ got pretty scared because he saw something that disappeared in a closet. Then later, when he was back in his room, he heard moaning outside this door and footsteps. And when he jerked open that door to find it, it had disappeared. So we're on chapter 10 today. Kathy vanishes. The hallway was empty. DJ frantically flipped the flashlight up and down the corridor, past the stairwell into the other wing and back again. DJ's heart was thumping so loudly he could hear it against his own eardrums. Have you ever been able to hear your heartbeat when you were like maybe running or something really hard? That's how he was. What was that? The voice behind him made DJ whirl around and start to swing the boot before he stopped. Alfred, stop sneaking up on me like that. Then DJ relaxed and asked eagerly, "Did you hear it?" "Of course I heard it," Alfred answered sleepily, adjusting his thick glasses. "But what was it?" DJ listened a moment, his head cocked. The moaning was gone. I don't know. His voice was barely a whisper. Maybe the ghost of the moaning mansion? Don't say that. Well, whatever it is, it's gone. Just like the footsteps. Footsteps? Alfred turned back into the room and closed the door. He pulled the spread off the bed and wrapped himself up in it. DJ briefly told Alfred about the sound of footsteps that had awakened him, going across the ceiling, over his bed, and out the window. Alfred studied DJ's face a long time before saying anything. "You're not making that up, are you, DJ?" "No, Alfred, I'm sure not. But what's it all mean?" "I don't know." DJ didn't want to admit it, but he was having fearful thoughts. He had been wide awake and he heard the footsteps. His light had been on when he heard each step going down the far wall and out the window. Those were things no human being could ever do. Then the moaning with nobody there. "Hey!" he exclaimed aloud. "How come only you and I are standing in the middle of the night by ourselves? Everyone should have heard that, especially Kathy. We'd better go check on her." DJ imitated Alfred, pulling off the bedspread of his bed and wrapping himself up in it. DJ took the flashlight and hurried down the hall past Miss Herndon's closed door to Kathy's room. Oh, DJ whispered, flashing the light ahead. "Her door is open." The boys called softly, "Kathy, Kathy," and knocked on the open door. When there was no answer, they pushed the door open wider. DJ's flashlight showed her bed had been slept in, but it was empty. "Maybe she's in the bathroom," Alfred whispered hopefully. DJ reached inside the bathroom and snapped the wall light on. He called towards the open bathroom door. "Kathy, you in there?" There was no answer. Still calling softly, the boys advanced and turned on the bathroom light. The shower curtain was pulled back. There were no closets or other places to hide. "She's gone," Alfred whispered. A slight noise behind them made both boys whirl and look under the high bed. Smooch, the tiny Yorkshire Terrier, crouched there, whining softly. DJ knew instantly that Kathy wouldn't have gone anywhere without the dog if she'd had a choice. But why hadn't he barked? The dog refused to come out when the boys called him. Finally, DJ straightened up and stood up. "He's too scared. Let him stay. We've got to find Kathy." "But where will we look?" DJ hesitated. "I don't know. But if she's disappeared like Grandpa, should we wake up Miss Harrington? I don't see how she could have slept through all that moaning." He moved to the outside of the housekeeper's closed door and listened to determine if she was moving around inside. Alfred whispered behind DJ, "I don't believe she believes in ghosts. I don't believe..." "Shh," DJ hissed. It's Kathy we've got to worry about." He remembered her door had been closed when he and Alfred returned from the 3rd floor. But how long ago had that been? "What should we do, DJ?" He hesitated, still listening outside of Miss Harrington's door. He hadn't heard a thing to indicate she was awake. DJ's mind was spinning with countless thoughts. He felt sure Kathy wouldn't deliberately have left the room by herself without taking Smooch. The little terrier under the high canopy bed was afraid of something. Maybe whatever had taken Kathy. If she had been taken, that is. But why else would have she left her room? Alfred whispered, "We should have paid attention to those warnings." "Too late to think about that," DJ said fiercely. "Now we've got to go find her." "You gonna wake the housekeeper?" "No," DJ decided, moving back towards the boys' room, followed by Alfred. "We don't know anybody in this house we can trust." Alfred closed the door and raised his voice slightly. "But Miss Harrington's never done anything to make us suspicious of her, like the real estate man and the ex-football player. We can't take a chance, Alfred. Everybody's a suspect until we know what's going on around here. Now get dressed and let's go see if we can find that tunnel or cave." Alfred's voice was a weak croak. "You mean go under this old house now?" "Right now," DJ said firmly, throwing off the bedspread he'd wrapped himself in. He grabbed his clothes from under the armoire. Remember, that's like a big cabinet that is a closet, and dressed quickly. Alfred did the same. DJ was so scared that his tongue seemed to clack against his dry mouth. For taking action eased the fear. DJ decided the logical place to start was the cellar Mrs. Keene had mentioned. Fully dressed, including coats, the boys eased down the stairs and into the kitchen. There were 2 possible doors. The first opened into a cupboard full of food. The second onto a flight of wooden stairs going down. The smell of old earth struck DJ's nostrils. With the flashlight, DJ located an electrical switch. He snapped it on and watched a weak light flood the cellar. The boys were careful going down the dozen steps. It was a small cellar, half the size of the kitchen above it. An adult would have had trouble standing up in the small concrete-walled area. The concrete was rough finish, clearly showing where 2x4 boards had been used to hold the wet cement until it set. When the board forms had been removed, the walls showed many 6-foot-long sections of concrete set end to end. A wide assortment of canned fruits and vegetables stretched off in neat rows. No doors except the one we came through, DJ said at last. No tunnel, no cave, nothing. DJ sagged against the far end of the cool concrete wall, the familiar odor of the ceiling feeling in his nostrils. The only other possibility is that the tunnel is in the riverbank and runs back somewhere else under the mansion. Unless, Alfred whispered, glancing around the cellar and drawing his jacket up tighter around his shoulders, we're not dealing with a human kidnapper. Alfred, DJ tried to sound properly shocked. You don't mean that. Alfred lowered his head. I don't know what I mean. It's spooky. Everything's spooky around here. Seeing the lantern float straight up outside the house and the Chinese face, plus what you heard going across our bedroom ceiling. DJ had never thought he'd consider that ghosts were real, but he was having fearful doubts. That meant his faith in God was slipping. Hey, Alfred exclaimed, reaching onto the chest-high shelf. Look what I found. DJ exclaimed, it's Kathy's flat cowboy hat. She had it hanging down her neck when we all went upstairs tonight. Alfred moved closer to DJ's. She's been here tonight. Listen, Alfred, DJ said, whispering against the concrete wall. I don't have any idea what's going on, or how it's done, or who's doing, but whoops! He felt himself falling as the wall gave way under his weight. He shoved himself away and staggered a couple of steps before falling against Alfred. Hey, look at that, his friend cried, pointing. Look at that. The seemingly solid concrete wall had swung slightly inward. It's a door, DJ exclaimed. A 6-foot section had accidentally been pushed open slightly. He shoved the flashlight through the opening. DJ remembered hearing that Chinese workers had dug tunnels to store food and items that needed to be kept at a constant cool temperature. DJ was sure this was such a place. He and Alfred squeezed through the door and stood just inside the cool, silent shaft. DJ's flashlight probed deeper, touching the whitish, rough-hewn walls, ceiling, and floor. Hewn means it was cut. What do you think, DJ? He turned to face his friend. Electric wire's been strung along the roof of this tunnel, but I don't see the switch. The flashlight's too weak for me to see to the end of the shaft. DJ glanced at the flashlight, suddenly aware that the batteries were much weaker than he would have liked. Alfred stooped suddenly and pointed. What's that? DJ's light touched the small object lying on the tunnel floor just outside the concrete door. The boy bent and picked it up. Grandpa's rubber tip from his cane. See, it's broken, just as I told you before. Alfred glanced nervously about. They're both in here, DJ, and it's a cinch they didn't find this place by themselves. DJ nodded glumly, flashing the light down the tunnel as far as it would go. What are we going to do? DJ thought quickly. You go back upstairs and wake everyone up, all of them. But suppose they're all in this together? We've got to take that chance, Alfred. If we awoke one and it turned out to be the person behind all this, then we'd be in worse trouble. Call the sheriff, too. What about you, DJ? I'm going to try to find Grandpa and Kathy. Alone? Down that tunnel? Don't argue, please. Bring the sheriff down here as fast as you can. Alfred turned to step through the partly open door but it began to swing shut. DJ, look! The flashlight had already shown DJ what was happening. Quick, jump through while I hold it open. As Alfred leapt to obey, DJ threw his weight against the door. Losing control of the flashlight, it clattered to the limestone floor and went out. DJ, I can't get out. I can't stop this door. Jump back here with me before you get crushed. Alfred fell backwards against DJ as the door clanged shut. Both boys went down inside the shaft. Total darkness and silence engulfed them. Oh, man. Well, that's the end of chapter 10. So the boys have found a lot of clues tonight. They found Kathy missing. They found the secret tunnel behind that fake wall that was really a door. They found the tip to Grandpa's cane, Kathy's cowboy hat. Well, now they're in the dark alone. So we'll have to wait till tomorrow to see what happens next. This is Maria from Still Dreaming Homestead. If you like this story, please tell other people about it. They could watch all of the ones that I've already recorded, or they could even just start from here. I want to tell you, I love you, I really do. But more importantly, God does, and He always will. So have a good night or a good day, and I'll be reading to you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.